Hi guys, welcome back. So today is going to be kind of like a two-in-one video because I didn't film a January wrap-up, so I'm just going to lump January's in with February. So it's technically my February wrap-up, but I'm also going to talk about the books that I read in January. The first book that I read in that I finished in January, I started reading it at the very end of December, finished it in January. That was The Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo. I'll put it here, but it was really good. So that was the first book I read, and then the next book that I finished in January was The Lost Queen by Signe Pike. This was the best book ever. This is the first book in the Lost Queen trilogy, and it is a historical fiction book that revolves around a young princess named Langorith and her brother Lilican. They're twins, and they live in ancient Scotland, and it's all about how she has to go through life trying to figure out who she is supposed to be. And there's fighting and romance and magic. It's pretty cool, and I loved this book so much, and I will recommend it to everyone, and it will definitely be on my, like, the top books I've read in 2019. This may be on the very top. Someone who blurbed it on the front said it's like Outlander meets Camelot, and that is definitely what it's like. Those were the two books I finished in January. I started this one in January, As Old as Time by Liz Braswell. It is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I finished reading it the very beginning of February. Sorry guys, my foot's falling asleep. In this story of Beauty and the Beast, Belle's mother actually was the enchantress who cursed the beast. It's all about how Belle is trying to go about getting back to her father, finding out what has happened in this castle, and trying to save the beast. It was actually really good. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. So if you like that kind of thing. And The Lost Queen, I obviously gave 5 out of 5 stars. The Language of Thorns, I gave 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read in February, I read for one of our book clubs, and that was Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis, and this book is life-changing. I went into this thinking I was gonna hate it because I don't like nonfiction books. I have a hard time with that. I have to like force myself to read them, and most of the time I don't ever finish them. But I listened to this on audiobook, and the author is funny and she's down to earth, and everything that she's saying felt like it spoke directly to me. My favorite thing that she said in this thing, because I have this horrible problem with this. I have a fear of people judging me, and like I want everybody to like me. So she said it perfectly in here. Someone else's opinion of me is none of my business. And it's not. What somebody thinks of you is none of your business. What somebody thinks of me is none of my business. So I have to take those things into heart. Definitely pick this up if you're on the struggle bus. Or if you're not and you just want something uplifting and motivational to read and funny. So this, yes, definitely. I gave it obviously 5 out of 5 stars. I will recommend this all day long to everyone. That was an amazing book. Next I read, where did it go? Another, I believe this is classified as nonfiction, maybe not. Anyways, it's a book of written in verse, a poetry collection, and that is The Princess Saves Herself in This One by Amanda Lovelace. I also really loved this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars too. I had a lot of 5 out of 5 stars books this month, which is great. I won't talk too much personally about this because it touched me so deeply in my soul that those things are private, but a lot of her stuff just hit with me right in the feels, and I cried reading this. And I also read it really fast. It's written like this. So yeah, I gave that
this heart won't come out.
What, honey?
This
Okay, the next book that I read was House of Furies by Madeline Rowe, I think, or Rokes. I don't know how to say her last name. This we read for one of the other book clubs I'm in that I host, and this is a horror, YA horror fiction, I think. I was really skeptical going into this. I thought I wasn't gonna like it, and also let's talk about how floppy this book is. This is my favorite thing ever. Why can't all paperbacks be this floppy? This book is about a girl who has run away from her boarding school, and she is offered employment at this boarding house that is literally run by the devil. She has to try to figure out if she belongs here, why she's there. She's trying to help the guests that are staying here because they have been sent there to die. So read this if you love horror stories, mysteries, that kind of stuff. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars, mostly because it was lacking a few details that I found myself wanting in here. But other than that, it was really good. And it is the first in the series, I think. Yeah. The next one is Court of Shadows. The next book that I read was Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna Maguire. I loved this book. I read it in like one day. Like, this was a one sitting type book. It's not very big. So this is the first in the Wayward Children series, and it follows the story of the kids who go to places like Wonderland and Narnia when they come back to the real world. So they come back and they're talking gibberish. Their parents can send them to this school for wayward children, and there are kids of their kind here, kids that have gone to different magical realms, and it's helping them through life. So this was very good. I loved this book. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars, 4 out of 5 stars, only because it was so short and I just wanted so much more from this book. I felt like it was a chapter instead of like the whole book. Okay, the next book that I read was the first volume of Death Note. I gave this 3 stars. It wasn't terrible, but I got a little bored and it just wasn't my thing. I tried. I don't think I'll be finishing this series, this manga series. It wasn't bad by any means. I just couldn't click with it. And the next book that I read was the second volume of Lock and Key by Joe Hill, which is Stephen King's son, and I love Stephen King books. I have a whole shelf up there full of Stephen King stuff. This series, I love it. It's about kids that go to this mansion or whatever that their family owns, and they find these keys that unlock things. Like this one unlocks their head. It's really cool. It's weird and gruesome a little bit, but it's really good, and I will definitely be reading the next one. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. The last book that I read in February was a February new release, and that was The Cerulean by Amy Ewing. And let's talk about this cover because this is the reason I bought this book. I didn't quite know exactly what the book was about, but this cover drew me in and I had to have it. It's beautiful. So this is about a girl who lives in the city above the sky. This is a sci-fi fantasy, I think, something like that. That's the vibe I got from it anyways. Anywho, this is about a girl who lives in the city above the sky. Her people are called the Cerulean, and there's only women in this society, which I did not know going in, and it was interesting. I liked it. In the beginning, we find out that there is going to be a sacrifice because their city is tethered to a planet below to get the nutrients and stuff from the planet, and their city has to move so it doesn't kill the planet. So they've been here for 900 years and it's time for them to move. So our main character is chosen for the sacrifice, and she's supposed to fall to her death to sever this tether, but something goes wrong and she lands on the planet below, and the story follows her teaming up with some of the humans on the planet and trying to find her way back to her city to save the city in the sky. And I loved this book. I read most of it yesterday. Today is the 1st of March. I read this on the 28th of February. I was trying to finish it so I could talk about it. I think I read like 400 pages yesterday, 343 or something like that. I gave this 5 out of 5. It's okay. The jacket is fine. I didn't break it. Anyways, I love this book. The only problem is that I have with this book, and I almost dumped it down a whole point to 4 out of 5, but I loved it so much I had to give it 5. But the reason I almost dumped it down is it leaves off on a massive cliffhanger. This is the first in a duology. So now I have to wait for her to finish and publish the next book, but this just came out this month. So I'm gonna be waiting for a while, and I need to know what happens because it just leaves off in such a place where I'm like, no, you can't leave me like this. But it did, and now I'm sad. So anyways, this was really good. Pick it up. If you hate massive cliffhangers, wait until the second book is about to come out and then read this. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting like me. I did not know that this had a massive cliffhanger at the end, and now I am sad. So that was all the books that I read in February. I did start another book in February, which I am 12 chapters in, and that is Children of Blood and Bone. I love this book. I'll talk about it more in my TBR. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye.
My heart rages around like an ocean in my head, because there are so many things that I let